Well, joining me now from Capitol Hill is Ed O'Keefe, a reporter for the Washington Post. Okay, Ed, as of this morning, our CBS vote count had 35 noes, and Republicans can really only lose 22. What are you hearing of the chances of this passing, and is this vote really going to happen?
Both very good questions that we don't have answers to at this point, Rena. The situation quite fluid. Just in the last hour or so, the House Speaker went to the White House to explain the situation to the president and explain to him that essentially the votes aren't there. That's based on the reporting of my colleagues and what we've heard has occurred in the last little bit. We know now that a collection of vulnerable House Republicans across the country beginning to break away from this bill. Everyone from the powerful chairman of the House Appropriations Committee to Congresswoman Barbara Comstock from Northern Virginia, who's in one of the most competitive Republican districts in the country, just a little while ago saying she's not for this bill. Several others still holding out. Most of the focus is on that House Freedom Caucus, those diehard conservatives who have been at the heart of the opposition to this for quite some time. But what's interesting is that you have so many moderates from suburban swing districts, whether it's around Philadelphia, Chicago, or New Jersey, or down south, saying they too can't vote for this. That's a sign that this bill is in big trouble and that there are still probably more than 22 people opposed to the bill.
So, Ed, let's say that they delay the vote and decide not to take it today. I mean, are they really going to bridge the divide with the Freedom Caucus and what the president's willing to give into?
That's unclear as well. You know, if the president stands by his negotiations are over stance, the negotiations are over and they're going to have to move on to the next thing, whether that's tax reform, regulatory reform, or some other issue. Certainly, they could keep working on health care at the committee level or at the staff level and try to come up with some kind of a compromise, but it wouldn't be issue number one on the floor, you know, next week when they reconvene. Especially if they decide to hold up the bill today and maybe not even hold a vote.
You know, this was really the baby of House Speaker Paul Ryan. He worked very closely with Secretary Price on this. Do you think he loses clout with the president if he can't manage to rally these votes? How does he move forward on other issues on his legislative agenda?
I chuckle because you say it's the baby of Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan would like you to think that it's the baby of the president. There's going to be some finger pointing if this thing goes poorly, with both sides accusing the other perhaps of not carrying their water and of also giving credit to the other person for coming up with the idea if it fails. If it succeeds, everyone will take credit, of course. That's how it works. But in this case, yes, the situation, the relationship between the Speaker and the President would be damaged by this, I think, because Trump has been led to believe by Ryan and his team that they can deliver the votes. The last few days have shown that that certainly is not the case. Ryan has been pretty insistent throughout that this is the best way to make changes to the Affordable Care Act and that it needs to pass in order for the Congress to move forward with the rest of its legislative priorities this year. The idea was to get health care done first because there are tax implications in it before doing tax reform, which is expected to be the next big thing and which is also expected to sail through a lot easier than health care. From there, they would move on to all sorts of other things, but these two big ones had to happen in that sequence first. If they can't get health care done today, the question will be, do we go back to the drawing board or do we move on? And if you move on, how does today's decision affect the ability to do wholesale tax reform in the coming weeks?
I can't imagine if Paul Ryan is there at the White House if the news is good. Walk us through the next couple of hours, Ed. Where do you see this going? Are they still debating it right now?
Yes, on the floor of the House, they are still debating this. Republicans explaining why they're for it. Some Republicans explaining why they're holding out. Democrats in lockstep in opposition to the legislation. The vote is scheduled to happen at some point after 3:45 p.m. if you believe the whip's office. Steve Scalise announced that earlier today. If tradition holds, that will probably be an approximate time and it'll occur at some point after. One thing to keep in mind is that the markets close at 4 o'clock, and sometimes when there is economically sensitive legislation up there and the fate of it is unclear, they sometimes wait until the markets close to potentially hold off. So you'd have to wait till 5 o'clock, in essence, to do that. We'll see if that happens. But, you know, again, if they don't think they have it, there's always a chance that they pull the bill entirely, send people home, regroup, and determine what to do next week. If the president has told the Speaker, proceed despite potential losses, he will do that, but it'll be interesting to watch the White House and Republican leaders here play cleanup.
All right, Ed O'Keefe, we're going to continue to monitor this, and let us know what you hear, Ed. We'll check back with you later.
Take care, Rena.
Thank you.